Sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. If all the things you never show, there are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my energy. It's getting hard to talk to you, and I'm the only one who speaks. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Here we go.
Okay, guys. I know this is like a second live. I decided I was going to do another one because it was either that or just lie with my iPad in bed. And I thought, I'm going to do another one. And I know that Drunk Turkey Show Daniel just ended his live as well. So I know it's going to be late on the East Coast side over there. But it's okay. It's only 7:09 on this side of the planet here. Anyways, hope you guys are having a good day. I caught a little bit. Actually, I'll just be honest as always. I was listening to the Drunk Turkey Show and then I fell asleep within 10 minutes. And then 20 minutes later, my husband wakes me up and tells me that the food order came. And so yeah. And then so I was listening towards the probably the last 45 minutes, perhaps. Anyway, so I can't say that I walked out of there like hearing everything and stuff like that because I didn't. And I know that the Drunk Turkey Show, Daniel, like I said, he's a great guy. I do think it's good that we have people that have different things to say for sure, right? And different thoughts and stuff like that. And then we all have our own opinions and stuff like that, as well as, obviously what's out there. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing good. If you guys haven't hit that like and share button, please do so. Of course, for Jack and Lily, keep the awareness out there. These two children were almost at 4 months, eh? It's literally 4 days off of the second. And so it's crazy to think that, like, I swear that from August 2nd to September 2nd coming up, it's like, please turn off. No, I turned it off to 35 seconds. I ain't turning it off. It's how I have control over how fast I can read comments. So I turned it down to 35 seconds. Okay. I think that's pretty fair considering I usually have it at a minute, just depending on how many people are in the chat, or because it's people can't keep coming in and flowing as well. Right. But then I can't really pay attention to comments if it's too fast and people are typing right on there. So anyways, but yeah, so it's crazy. This last month just went like voop. I can't believe it's already coming up to September 2nd. And then, of course, there's the court hearing for Meadow coming up. I can't remember what date that was, like the 16th or 18th, one of those 2 days, somewhere about there, for baby Meadow. So we'll see what transpires when all that stuff happens. And, as for now, Meadow, of course, is, in the care of CPS, as we know. And Daniel and Malaya are obviously fighting for custody, or however that might work out or not work out for anyone. Was Janie wasn't live? No, I seen her chatting a little bit, but what's the point? Like, seriously, like, she was chatting a little bit in DT's chat, but honestly, what's the point? To be honest with you, it's like, I think one of her comments is like, I've already said everything Like, what more can I say? Well, yes, I literally have 2 hours and 37 minutes of your voice on, recordings from that chat and the thing, you know. Either way, again, I want to say, okay, so I hope you guys are doing good. So I decided myself to use that AI on Google. Yeah. And I want to say this after listening to the DT show parts of it anyway. Okay. So I proposed to AI, if two children go missing in Nova Scotia, and wait, let's see, and there's no dog scent, and let's say they're not in the woods, because I mean, seriously now, they're not in the woods, okay? Um, and the parents are both doing deceptive things, but yet they passed, a polygraph test, right? So then I want to say what AI says, okay? Because it came back and said, when a situation involves missing children, deceptive behavior from parents, and the contradictory results of polygraph tests, law enforcement would most likely view this as a complex and highly unusual case. Duh. The fact that the children are not found in the woods and there's no dog scent suggests likely they didn't wander off, which is often the first assumption. Remember, that's basically what Malaya had said, that she can't believe that the children, took off on her like that, right? Um, Now, what to make of the situation? It says the deception behavior. A parent's deceptive things can be a major red flag for investigators. It could indicate that they know more than they are revealing and trying to conceal something, or simply not cooperating fully. This behavior immediately raises suspicion, even if they pass a polygraph. The polygraph test results. Polygraph tests are lie detectors, are not scientifically reliable, which we know, and the results are inadmissible, which we know. In the Canadian courts, a person can pass a polygraph for many reasons. Rhonda. Oh, right? Yeah. I was kind of pissed off because when I did my grocery order, Rhonda was like, well, my husband's coming home with ice cream. And I'm like, well, shit. Totally forgot to put that in my freaking order because I usually do get ice cream and I totally forgot. And I totally don't have any. But I'm glad you got some. I'm glad you got some. That's a good sentence. Glad you got some. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you. Rhonda always sends me a bunch of lovely messages in my messenger all the time. Um, Thank you. Honestly, it means a lot. Um, when people do work hard to, like myself, right? You work hard, like I work a full time job, and then I work hard on Jack and Lily's case or any case that I'm following, and it does mean a lot because some people just think from the commentating in comments and stuff, like it's so easy to do. It takes a bunch of programs. It costs quite a bit of money to have these programs, to pay for StreamYard and all these different things to create content. And not only that, but it takes a lot of time. And when you're behind the scenes doing stuff like that and trying to run the channel, like the show, it's not that you can sit there and see all the comments going on and, you're trying to get your information together and stuff. See, it's a lot of work. I don't do too many videos anymore because videos are a lot longer to do a 5-minute video than it is to do a freaking 3-hour live. Seriously. So I don't do too many videos anymore, to be honest with you. They're just a lot of work. But anyway, so I just want to say thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you guys all for being here. We're on August 29th, not September 29th. So we're almost here into September. And honestly, I'm tired of sweating. I'm tired of being hot. I'm tired of this muggy ass weather and it can just go away. I think I saw somebody say that the wood ban or walking in the woods ban is over. I think I seen that in the Drunk Turkey show. So that's good if that's the case. Um, and what was I going to say? Well, actually, I'll go back to what I was saying. Anyways, thank you guys. And I was going to say, I'll come back to you guys and I'll come back to what your guys' thoughts were. Like, is there anything? I'll come back to that though, about if there's anything that you took away from the Drunk Turkey shows live. Like I said, there was a big portion I did miss because my grocery order came and stuff like that. Um, but other than that, so yeah, there was a good, I would say a good probably hour I missed there. But anyway, so let me go back to this, okay? So a person can pass a polygraph test for many reasons, including, Daniel, you'll know this word, Daniel, if you happen to be watching. Okay, lack of emotional response. People who are sociopaths, psychopaths, or even who are just good liars may not show psychological signs of deception that the test measures. Countermeasures. Some people can consciously manipulate the physical responses like breathing and muscle tension to beat the test. Limited questions. This one I found very interesting because it just populated this question when it comes to it. It says a test. So I said a test with 4 questions as well. A test with only 4 questions is very narrow. It's possible the questions were phrased in a way that allowed the parents to be truthful about specific wording while still hiding the broader truth. For example, listen close. For example, they might truthfully answer no to the question, did you kill your children? That's what I didn't put that in there. That's what AI put in there. So that's a good one because Daniel said that he was asked, did you kill Jack and Lily? Right? So they might truthfully answer no to, did you kill your children? While still being responsible for their disappearance. Okay? So that one, when I read that, I was just like, exactly. Right? It doesn't seem like a ton of questions were asked. It seems like I said, each one kind of had more questions towards this than others. But so in saying that, again, it's what I find funny about polygraph tests is that I don't know why this seems to be emphasized so much on stuff that's not admissible and that people can pass a polygraph test, but I don't know why it's being so emphasized by it being said, well, if they passed a polygraph test, then obviously it's true. I mean, obviously there has to be other things to go with that too. But I love how this one said, they answered no, did you kill the children? While still being responsible for their disappearance. Right? So it says ultimately the combination of these factors will lead RCMP, because remember they use this word in that article, to continue a deliberate and exhaustive investigation based on hard evidence, not on results of a polygraph test. They would use a polygraph test as a psychological tool during an interrogation, but would rely on a thorough review of phone data, bank records, video surveillance, and other forensic evidence. Now, rest assured, you guys, Daniel had a couple of burner phones. Okay. So rest assured that Daniel had burner phones. And I don't think it takes too hard to wonder why someone usually has burner phones, right? We all know that people that are either dealers, buyers, whatever, anyone that's usually has a burner phone, it's kind of like for basically, hiding the shit that you don't want to be on your actual real cell phone. Now, just saying, so Daniel can deny his drug use all he wants. I don't give a shit. To me, I know the truth about that. And again, I mean, I could sit there and say certain things, but I'm not going to about that. Because at the end of the day, what's more relevant here is, so, Kate, what caused Jack and Lily to disappear? What happened to Jack and Lily, right? Who is responsible? Now, I want to go back to the blanket because, again, I'm not sitting there going to sit there and try to give all these outs and stuff like that myself, right? Not. This is one of these things where Janie clearly said that she was there when Daniel put the blanket into the garbage, right? Into the garbage bag. Don't stuff it too much, Daniel. So Daniel knew, regardless, exactly what Lily's blanket looked like because he put a piece of it in the garbage, the big piece, right? Even if Malaya put the other piece, he knew that this was Lily's blanket. So when asked about when they were shown the picture of the blanket, he said, no. I mean, he said no to other items as well. And his reason for this was because he felt that it was being planted against him. And then a few weeks later, he admits and says, yes, it is Lily's. Now, it's the simple fact that he lied, right? He literally lied. He knew that that blanket was in the garbage. So how could you not sit there and understand that the other piece that's in the tree is the same piece that you put inside the bag about a week earlier? How can you share what, April D? I don't know what you're talking about. You can't share on here. You can only share something to my email. So if there's something that you want me to look at, you have to send it to atcrimingshame@gmail.com. Because you can't drop links. Only mods can drop links. Push the share arrow. What share arrow? So, right. So like I said, okay, it's not so obviously, we're at a point, we're kind of a bit at a standstill, is how I figure with this case, right? I think, in all fairness, we don't know, of course, truly what happened to Jack and Lily. We can speculate, but the thing is that we're not brain dead, and we clearly have listened to Daniel and seen Daniel um, do a lot of things that are opposite of what Malaya has said. They've contradicted themselves. Their timeline is a mess. It's a hot mess, and it doesn't make sense. And again, I'm not, at the end of the day, the RCMP are going to do their job. But for me, I just look at a timeline that makes sense. And this timeline, no matter how they try to shuffle it, try to twist it, or add to it, it still doesn't make sense. And these are still their words. I don't care if it's in a police document, it's still their words. Does it make it what they're saying to the RCMP true? Right? So I know that Daniel from Drunk Show, like obviously it's like, okay, well, if that's, true, and then they got passed a polygraph and stuff like that, then why? Well, I just read you right there about a polygraph as well. And it's distinctly said, did you kill the children? And you can answer no. And that doesn't mean that you can't pass the polygraph test because of the scope of maybe a few questions, right? So it's one of those things, is like I said, so why are we putting so much emphasis on these polygraph tests too much? I mean, Janie obviously couldn't take one because apparently she has some sort of heart condition and stuff like that. I mean, bottom line is, if somebody does have issues and they can't take a polygraph because they got hypertension and shit going on, I mean, it sucks because she's claiming that she was the last one. I feel like this was an olive branch in many ways for her on this. But, again, I mean, wouldn't you guys all like to know about how Janie would have, if she would have passed or not? But again, it's going to remain a question mark, obviously. So I'm going based myself, right? Yes, there's we call them facts, but again, no matter what they said to the RCMP, it's their version, regardless, right? It doesn't make it still true. It just means that that's what they told the RCMP. Now, of course, the RCMP aren't dumbasses either. And they're trying to obviously figure this out, figure what's going on, you know. But if there's one thing that's been clear is that Daniel and, obviously Janie, it's I feel like the focus for them, it truly comes across to me as when somebody's trying to spit shine their reputation, more than anything, that they care so much about what we think, what people think about them, that seems to be like their freaking goal, just to sit there and try to get us to believe everything that they're saying. Well, like I said, due to, especially Daniel, but due to his own demise, he himself created this mess. Meaning, if the truth was being told, you know, would people be so harsh on Daniel if we felt like he was being truthful? No, we wouldn't be, right? Because you would feel like, what, his story's consistent, it stays the same, and you wouldn't, put too much thought more into it besides, hey, this person seems like they're being honest and more genuine, but that's not what's happened. And that's because of himself. Nobody else but himself brought up the inconsistencies, said that a blanket was planted, said that Malaya planted clothes, that somebody went into the trailer and took 5 articles out of there and stuff like that. Now, Malaya had said in the messages to me, I didn't take any of Daniel's clothes. So think about this though, right? Like, Malaya gets out of there. Now, again, besides the fact of how she's acted since, you know, she gets out of the situation. She's tired of the controlling, perhaps, behavior of Daniel, tired of her life. It sucks. Again, he's sitting there saying, basically, according to Malaya, you know what, you got to ditch all your friends. Belinda has told us about 2 years that ever since she met Daniel, pushed away. Friends have said that same thing, right? As if he's some sort of white and shining armor on a freaking horse that comes in and is her savior. And that's pretty much how he's portrayed himself. Like, I took her from slum into my palace of this trailer here, and I do everything. I've done everything, blah, 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 blah. Again, visually, it's hard not to see someone that's full of themselves. It just simply isn't. Now, let's see. Janie never had to do her Polly. She's the only other one who was on the property when they went missing. She already lied to protect Daniel. Well, again, where the truth lie, all I know is that their timeline and their stuff doesn't make sense. Like, my thing is this, okay? You give an inch, but in this case, if you gave a mile, you still wouldn't be able to put together a timeline with all their inconsistencies. And that's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with Janie saying that she heard the kids, Daniel saying that it's not like I was in, a deep sleep. Well, then great. You would have heard the kids yourself then outside, wouldn't you have? So, at the beginning of this, it all became about, well, obviously, first of all, they were the ones that talked about, okay? The only reason why the dispatch got the timeline of 8 o'clock was from them, okay? When were the kids last seen, last heard? 8 o'clock. Now, whatchamacallit, Malaya, 8 to 8:30. It's in an article with Daniel as well, 8 to 8:30. That's their timeline, okay? Why are people kind of, or what it seems like, why are some of the people that are following this case forgetting that, right? Because that was their timeline. Like, this focus of 9:40 to 10:01, right? So at first we're kind of thinking, well, you know what? They're just trying to cover their asses because obviously it's not 20 minutes. It's more like freaking an hour and something, right? That the kids disappeared, but they're trying to cover their own butts, about this. Now, again, so they're not being truthful because obviously they gave the timeline of 8 o'clock. Okay. So it's almost like that's almost kind of a, like, I don't want to say it's forgotten about, but I want to say that that has to be in the mix of all this, because it's clear on the scanner radio that twice that it talks about 8 o'clock. And so, which is exactly, who else would have given them that? Nobody else but Malaya and Daniel is exactly who would have given that timeline, right? And so, okay, again, Daniel references himself a few minutes, and then he says 20 minutes. We have to take that time from 8 to 8:30, because that's when they said that they were last seen, not no freaking 9:40, because they're the ones. So they're not telling the truth regardless, right? Because that timeline still matters about the 8 o'clock. And this whole 9:40 stuff, and this whole stuff about, like I said, like, honestly, the kids, they just, again, got out that door. Not only did they open it, they put on their booties, but they didn't stick on a jacket, right? Come on now. Kids, if they got their booties, are unless, of course, they were just allowed to play outside without their jackets because of those amazing parenting skills going on, right? These were latchkey kids, honestly. They could probably go outside, play whenever they wanted to, da 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 da, because probably it's like nothing happens around here. So those kids, I'm sure, were more taking care and playing by themselves all the time outside, for sure. But it's the fact of, let's say Daniel and Malaya, truthfully, had no idea what happened to Jack and Lily, right? And something did happen to them. Well, they busted, though, their own timeline by lying about their timeline, because that's exactly what happened. You can't take, I'm not going to give somebody a fucking benefit of the doubt of going from 8 to 8:30 to Daniel saying he woke up at 9:35. Okay, then just admit, if that's the case, Daniel, then just admit that it wasn't a few minutes later that you got up to look for Lily and Jack, that it was over an hour that you guys realized, oh, where's the kids? Because we're just sitting here in the bedroom with Meadow, and the other kids are just probably feeding themselves, getting themselves, doing whatever, right? So if that's the case, then just admit to that. But Daniel, or nobody, seems to want to admit to the fact of this in between timeline between 8:30, let's just say, to 9:40. And even then, again, Daniel's own words, come out, look for the kids. Like, how many times just can we make excuses for everything in this timeline? So I'm sorry. Like I said, to me, that's very suspicious to me personally. Hey guys, you know, so so again, if Daniel and Malaya, even though contradictory to pretty much everyone's gut feeling, okay, come on now, like, like, fool me once, right? Shame on me, or shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, type of thing, right? And it's kind of like, so if I went through the whole timeline, and I could sit there and poke like 20 holes at least in that timeline, if not more, then why would I believe anything anymore? I mean, hey, Janie, since you were willing to chat in the Drunk Turkey show, actually, don't bother, Janie. Save your typing, because there's honestly nothing that you have to say to me that I care to listen to be honest with you, anymore. You guys have said more than enough. But the thing is that what's pissed me off is that if you're caring about Jack and Lily, which I personally, you can preach it till you're blue in the face about caring about Jack and Lily, and this goes to other family members. But you know what? There's not really a bunch of signs showing that. And you guys are so worried about your own perception to what we think about you, instead of worrying about Jack and Lily, the two children that are missing. So I'm sorry, the two things don't match to me. Caring more about doing an interview about, well, that's the door. I just wanted to explain about the door for all those people on social media, And it's kind of like, where in the mix of this do you keep hearing about Jack and Lily? Very little, okay? Very little. It's like they need to be like, do you know how many things, you guys, that people have done in in that private chat when Daniel was in it? Okay? This one distinctly stands out. Kent put a picture of that big sign, right, into the private group, that one with Lana and stuff like that inside of it. And he put that picture, right? Everyone else is like, amazing, Kent. That's so awesome. That's so great. Do you think? And Daniel was just typing a little storm there. What did Daniel say, you guys? What did Daniel say? He said diddly shit is what Daniel said. He didn't say thank you guys. Does he ever say thank you guys for, keeping the awareness for Jack and Lily? Nope. Nope. Every blue moon it might ooze out of his mouth, when he's trying to make us, like him or something like that, which I don't. I'm sorry. Like, seriously. For me personally, I'm just tired of his antics and his bull crap. And again, if he had nothing to do with it, why do you feel the need to lie? Why do you feel the need not to tell the truth? Because it's to cover your own asses, or because you're, part of the problem of what happened to Jack and Lily, right? Not He is basing his theory off facts he has searched up, not off the. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying there. Daniel, question: why did you move the wood pile? Yeah, some people ask about that. You know, um, I know we speak a lot about Daniel because Daniel does the most talking, but don't get me wrong, right? I'm talking about Malaya as well, because again, for me, this is absurd to watch what's gone on with Malaya and how she's acted. And but anyways, earlier in the live with Bev, I want to thank Bev for being here. There was these one documents that were more condensed. They're the same kind of like what was in the article, but they're just in the proper form. DT stated he follows where the investigation has gone, and the investigation indeed hasn't pointed toward Martell, Brooks, and Murray that we know of yet. Maybe it will, maybe. Well, I want to be very clear on this too. Okay. It's not that there's no criminal culpability. It was at that point, there was no evidence to show that. That didn't mean that it's not going to turn out that way. It just means that at that point of July 16th, that they didn't have anything to show that there was anything about Jack and Lily. Okay. Not in the woods, that the parents had done something, right? That they were abducted. There was nothing. That was the bottom line. You want to ask a random thing? Okay, fine. What is my favorite drink? If I had to say, it would be cream soda. And what is your favorite word? My favorite word is YOLO is my favorite word. Thank you. What bothers me is Malaya's lack. Right. So this is another thing, okay, guys? Malaya's lack of concern, right? Wade said the same thing. I also know the same thing. And Belinda has said the same thing, right? That Malaya was showing no. So is she a sociopath? Who knows? Like, does she lack empathy? I don't know. What the heck? Because everyone keeps saying that Malaya is showing no signs as if she lost two children. That as if these children did not exist. Like I said, so that's by multiple people: Wade, Belinda, others. Okay. So doesn't that just scream to you, what the fuck? Like, really? So if somebody's kind of living their life up, like it's 1999, I suppose, Prince? But if somebody's just kind of, doesn't bother to come out, and they only come out, and she only came out because it was pissing her off that Darren was saying that she had the children and stuff like that, because she was sick of, because, I mean, obviously that was stirring the pot a lot, right? So you're not coming out for Jack and Lily, right? not coming out for your own 2 children, heaven forbid. Isn't that just crazy? There's no reason. There's no excuse. I don't even care. Whether or not she's working with RCMP, whether or not she is not working with RCMP, I don't really care. This is not the actions of a mother that is devastated and wants to find her children. I do not care, because anyone that has children knows you will fight tooth and nail. You will do anything to do something to try to bring awareness to the children and and what happened to them. These are just normal things, that normal people would think to do. Hey, Travis. What is the stat? Travis, you're asking the wrong person that stuff. You got to ask Charmaine those questions. That's not a Sunny question. But one second, I do want to bring up these here. So what I wanted to go through was these articles early on the live. Yeah. If you're talking about like arresty stuff, I know what a probable cause is. I know what certain things are, but I don't know what the standard is in Canada. Honestly, besides us covering a couple cases, Charmaine's the one that's been covering Canadian. So unfortunately, Travis, she's not here for 2 weeks. Megan, I'm sorry, that's not worth it to me. I would rather you not be a member than to sit there and try to take away me saying fuck off or something like that. Not going to happen. Challenge not accepted. I don't think $1.99 is going to hurt me. No offense, Megan. Ain't taking that challenge. I would rather have my own swear jar around. Hey, Daleen, to pass charge. Oh, there you go. Like little conviction in the public. There you go. Ask Daleen the questions. She's a lawyer. There you go. Okay. Megan. Good fight, Megan. Okay, share screen. Windows. I know all the neighbors. 1 second. Nope. 1 second. I gotta click on it. Boom. Where are you? Okay, this is what I want to pull up from earlier. Okay. And actually, just give me, there's nobody here besides me. So give me 1 second. Be right back. By the way, Daleen, I saw that too. Yeah, but that's a favorite line. She said word. Word to Big Bird. Okay. So there was 5 pages of the document. So I just kind of want to go through them. No, he's not. Um, like there's still a ton of stuff I'm sure that he doesn't know. Because we've been watching it from the start, right? So he is a few steps behind for sure. I sent him a lot of stuff, and he's been, given some information and stuff like that. He says, like he said on his live. But at the end of the day, there's still, like, I've sent him a bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard when we've been watching this unfold since, but it still comes down to the basis of it all, right? So there is nothing to show, like Daniel or Malaya has not been arrested or anything like that. Nobody's been charged. We still don't know what happened to them. But we're talking a lot too about the perception to the public and how this, as a case is forming to be like. And it's, like I said, it's like a shit show, twirled up. And I think that it's a joke. I definitely feel, based upon their own words, that they're not being truthful about truly how that morning went. Whether it's that they're simply covering their own asses for, like, nobody wants to look bad that they slept a lot longer than they did while the kids were up. Nobody really wants to admit that, especially when you know that you're on the news and you're going to lose any of the kids that you have if you are deemed as negligent parents and stuff like that, right? So you're definitely gonna bullshit, as much as you can when it comes to playing with a timeline when you don't want to look bad to the public, to CPS, and you don't want to risk having those children. Now, remember, Malaya did make the comment about when Belinda asked her, she said she's protecting the children, Malaya said, and then Belinda said, from what? And she said, from CPS, right? So I can understand why people are thinking, like, okay, did Malaya hide these children? Did she give them to somebody because she knows that CPS will take them, because type of thing. Again, it doesn't mesh with my train of thinking, but I do still look at everything. Now, granted, again, right? We don't know the full details. There's a lot of redacted stuff. And again, I'm not going to sit here and think that everyone just passed that polygraph with flying colors and stuff like that. You know, um, those things aren't admissible. Do they count to me? A little bit, maybe. Like, obviously, you kind of look at them, but will I hold a ton of weight to them? No, because there's so many cases where people take polygraphs, and it clearly says here how easy it is to pass a polygraph as well. And to me, Daniel's a narcissist. He called Cindy a psychopath. Maybe he should look at himself, perhaps. I don't know. Sunny, the neighbor wrote the comment about not knowing the kids are there, and then that complained about the rescue team being on the property and hearing the car are not the same person. Well, Daniel had said that they were. Um, Now, because I remember, I think it was in a conversation with Kent and Daniel, because that specific question was asked if the person that put on the post was the same person that would be the neighbor, right? So personally, if Daniel hadn't said that yes they were, then I wouldn't have been so certain about, like, I wouldn't have thought about that, like, meaning I would have thought about it. But the person right on the post said that they live 500, I don't know, something's going on there, because they said that they live 500 feet away. But you're right about the children and stuff like that. I didn't even know that they had children. And hold on a second, but the guy might not have known that they had children, but they got on the same bus. The neighbor, the one that wouldn't let them search the property, is the one that was talking about the vehicle, right? 6 times. So whether or not that person is the same, again, that was just, well, I don't know. Ask Daniel a lot of things. How would he know? Daniel seems to be the know-it-all. Daniel seems to be the best friend, you know, um, to this case here. Sorry, guys. You guys, it's so hot. I have to turn my fan that way or else it's gonna, but it's so hot. But anyways, um, do, 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 do. Uh, yeah, Megan, um, I was gonna say I answered a couple of questions, but I'm not here to play games right now about how many cinnamon rolls and stuff like that on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm talking about Jack and Lily and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm just gonna say this politely. If you could just stop making those type of comments right now. Um, it's obviously, um, other people are like, what the fuck is she even talking about? Yeah, just again, I don't mind when we get to an end of the show, and stuff. Most of the times, joking around and stuff like that. But um, I want to focus this live more so on Jack and Lily right now. But okay, so I'm just going to start reading because there's like 5 pages. So, police investigating the disappearance of Jack and Lily Sullivan collected the kids' toothbrushes from their home, found a sock and a scrap of purple fabric in the woods. According to the court, now Daniel said that none of those items belonged to Jack and Lily. Mm. Um, According to the court documents, that all the details, the results of their mother and stepfather's polygraph test. Okay. 7 court documents filed by the police in the continuing major crime investigation and obtained by the Globe and Mail on Thursday divulged that items seized during the search for the young kids from Lansdowne lack of evidence pointing to potential criminality at the time that the documents were filed. Right, that the documents were filed in mid-May. Okay, so that's when they were asked for. And of course, the documents went up to July 16th. Okay, so lots of documents, but different dates for those documents. But the last one being, Joe always has sarcasm, Rob. Um, but anyways, and a play-by-play account of the children's last hours before their mother reported them missing. Their documents, sealed by a provincial court judge in Pictou at the request of the RCMP in mid-May, were released to the Globe and Mail and other media outlets with some redactions. A lot of redactions. 500 pages, people. 500 pages. Think about that. 500 pages. Okay. Think 500 pages, you guys. That's a lot. Because I know, Johnny. Because I know. I'll just say that information was given to me. Okay. So sometimes I have to say things without saying where I got the information from. But yes, now Daniel was clear that he put his phone on the end table or something like that. Oh my God, you guys, it's so freaking hot. On there, I like his cell phone, but he had burner phones. Yeah. Now let's see the other. Let's see. Okay. So do they include personal information? So the stuff that's redacted, personal information, privileged information, and delayed disclosure. They show the Mounties made 6 applications under the Missing Persons Act to access copies of the records to contain information about Jack. You know, this happens a lot of times, sometimes in the States as well, when they try to seal the documents. Oh my God, it's so freaking hot. When they try to seal the documents and then bunch of media outlets get together and then they'll, fight that because of the, freedom of information and stuff like that. Right. So anyways, so it says that Lily and Jack, one second here. But, okay. So Lily and Jack, age 6 and 4, were reported missing on, of course, morning of May 2nd, when police received a 911 call at 10:01 from their mother, Malaya Brooks, saying that they had wandered away. Right now, again, this goes back. Now, again, to me, these are just discrepancies here. So Janie says that she didn't take her phone with her, and in that interview, to me, it's like she was talking about going into her trailer. And then she's like, and then she let us know that she didn't have her phone with her. Like, who cares? Like, meaning she pointed that out to us, right? Like, just to let you know, I didn't have my phone up until the police got there. But that's not true, because Janie had a call at 10:19 and the police arrived at 10:27. So another inconsistency, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, I understand that people can have some, not remember everything and stuff like that. I get that. But in this case, how many of those can we possibly have? Which, and, the end all to be all, guys, and I do want to make this clear, is that Malaya, Daniel, and Janie might have absolutely zero at all to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lily. We do not know that. But the perception that is being derived from their own actions and their own words and how they're acting is very suspicious, to say the least. Okay. So, in what world do we typically follow a case and then you watch something like this? And who is not going to question what the heck is going on? If this was a very truthful situation, right, it just would have remained like basically like this is what happened that day, did it type of thing. That's not really what happened. It's been bits and pieces coming out here and there, things inserted and stuff like that. Whenever something like this happens and stuff like that, to me, it's clear as day that there's deception going on. Absolutely. Uh, Diamonds, do you have a question? Or are you saying hi? Oh, you're saying hi. It's not a hand up. I was thinking it was a hand up at first. Hi, guys. Um, and I know it's getting late for some of you guys out there, but here it's literally. God, I gotta dye my hair. Those grays are coming in. Yeah, I'm a hot mess right now. You guys, as I'm talking to you, I might have to turn my fan towards me because it is so muggily hot. Um, so anyways, so 10:27 is when the RCMP arrived, and the mysterious disappearance sparked an intensive grid search for that spanned 8.5 square kilometers and mostly dense wood around the home, wells, mine shafts, waterways. The case has gripped people across Canada and around the world. 740 tips, 9,000, and more than 9,000. Let that absorb that for a second. 9,300 videos. 9,300 videos. Dang. That's a lot. No, I can't have a window AC, Drippy. Well, besides a portable one, but that one broke down a few months ago. Um, So, anyways, which RCMP said being evaluated and prioritized by major crimes. So, okay, here we come to the gold car, guys. Let's see here. I gotta scroll up. The gold car. Oh, you don't think anyone would have noticed a gold car? But anyways, the documents say police have received hundreds of tips in the case, including one from a witness who said that she was traveling with her sons on the morning of May 2nd and saw two children walking along the side of the road. Whenever I see a 6 and 4-year-old walking along the side of the road, I think that's absolutely normal. Don't you guys think so? 6 and a 4-year-old in that area, because you guys know what it looks like, just walking along. Don't you think that you kind of might have would have stopped and said, like, are you kids okay? Because that's what typical people do. So this makes me like someone had mentioned that that there could be an attachment to Janie in this person. So the only attachment I would see there is if Janie's like, hey, make a call, say that you saw some children, right? And this chick calls on the 31st or something like that. Again, that was just what someone was saying. Who knows? I don't put any thought into this one at all. Natasha Haywood informed the RCMP on May 31st, you guys, okay? So May 31st, she must have ducked her head in a well and then popped out on May 31st because obviously two children and she lives in that area or around that area. And then she's sitting there saying May 31st is when she gave in that tip, right? So were you living in a hole for like the last, 29 days before May 31st? Considering you have children yourself? And all of a sudden it just dawns on you like May 31st. Oh, guess what, you guys? Guess what? Now that I think about it, I seen a gold car, and maybe she did somewhere else, you know, or maybe she's just, full of beans. The boy had dirty blonde hair, blah, 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 wearing shorts. The girl had darkish hair and pigtails, blah, 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 wearing a tank top with blue strings, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that didn't happen, right? According to police, She said the children were walking towards a Caucasian female about 50 to 60. Janie, is that you? Janie? With a loose curl haircut. No, that's not Janie then. Who was waiting next to the passenger side of the older Model 10 Golden Sun. Um, the documents say that in early June, police met with the witness near the corner of Gairloch Road and Lansdowne Road, where she mentioned having seen the children walking north towards Westville and that the vehicle appeared to be waiting for them. Like, did that come out of somebody's ass, this story? I'm sorry. So the police met up with her. So maybe perhaps this person is a friend of the family that was like, you know what? Let's just go with the kids were taken by somebody theory. Stuff like that. I'm sorry, I can't, you guys. This is like when I come across this, it's just utter bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go put my hair up. I gotta go throw water on my face. It's way too hot. So talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Go ahead. I'll be right back.
Flashing lights dance with fire in the night. I'm wired. Watch the time pass us by. Is this feeling lying? Could you pass the lighter? Yeah, I'm trying to keep my cool. Nicotine in my veins, flaming up desires. What am I supposed to do? Cause it feels so good. Feeling wild like a zoo. Put me in a mood. Put me in a mood. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Yeah. Moving through all my feels, you're blurring out my vision. Watching your every smile like your television. In your eyes I see myself, I'm falling. Make it make sense, it must be the temptation speaking. What am I supposed to?
Sorry about that, guys. I literally it's just way too hot. I feel like I'm going through, I'm not, but I feel like I'm going through like freaking ass menopause right now with just how hot it is. But anyways, okay. So is there anybody? I just hit 1 for yes, 2 for no. Does anybody think that this whole thing has anything to do with Jack and Lily at all? 1 for yes, 2 for no. No, 2 here. Oh man. Yeah. And hi everyone. Thank you guys for joining, who's ever in here tonight. Hi Lobby. How are you? Who is this singing? I don't know. It said cruise something or whatever. Too lazy to go back and look. I gotta wash these grays right out of my hair. Maybe I'll do it. Okay, Peg Day, you think 1? Yeah. Most of you guys are 2. Yeah, 56. But I've already gone through like menopause, so I'm good. But you would think it was because it's just so muggy. Just so muggy. But anyways, okay, thank you guys. Appreciate that. Because what you guys think means a lot as well, right? I mean, are we all kind of on the same page pretty much about, the gold car, and is there any relevance to it? I only want things that are what I would deem as relevant. And although this is in here, it doesn't seem realistic. It doesn't seem, if anything, it was a contrived type of story. Maybe perhaps, she had it all wrong. She didn't give it till May 31st, people. Okay. And it doesn't even exude who Lily and Jack are, let alone she thought that they were older and stuff like that. So we're just gonna skip by that. And if you do happen to think that this is part of it, obviously so be it, right? Okay, so oops, my bad. Yeah, are we too close? Okay, I think I gotta go to the next. Okay, so let's see. In a statement to CBC Newsweek this week, RCMP spokesperson Allison Gerard said that the disappearance remains very active investigation. And I believe that, absolutely, very active investigation. The Nova Scotia RCMP is using every available source to help locate Lily and Jack and determine the circumstances of their disappearance, she said. Now, however, Corporal Curl notes in a May 23rd affidavit that the case may progress to be criminal should the elements of a criminal offense be identified. No, not typically for Lily. No, she didn't have piggy tails, right? Sending Jennifer Leah ponytails in the last sign of life. No. Is it finally? Yeah. Like, well, I needed to rain. And I want, I'm waiting for the fall leaves and the briskness now. I'm tired of this overheating stuff. Sitting there laying in front of your fan and it feels like a feather blowing in your freaking face. Yes, I am worried about that, actually, April. Sunny, a question. Are you worried about this becoming a cold case? I really don't want to think that, but I'm from East Coast and I know what these cases can be like. Well, yeah, absolutely. Again, at the moment, from what we know, just from what we know on the surface, we might have our thoughts and speculation, but again, they have said at this point, right, to July 16th, anyways, that there's nothing there that they have come across. They haven't come across an abduction, that there's criminality involvement going on at the point of these documents. And that, so yeah, so does it worry me? Yeah, but did something happen to Jack and Lily? Absolutely. Do I think it was a random stranger? I could have thought it was more of a random stranger, even though I know RCMP, there's no signs and them leaving the property. There's no scent. There's nothing, of the sorts of them walking down the road, and that these dogs could not find the scent of two people. We're not talking one. Always remember that. When we're talking about this, we're talking about two children, right? Not just one child. And so you have to kind of look at it like from the perspective of, okay, if one child, okay, possibly, but two children, no sense, you know, uh, dogs to me would have picked up something. The same thing, you guys. This is the same scenario that we still sit here and wonder with Sebastian Rogers' case out of Tennessee in Hendersonville. Same shit. The oddity of the mother in that case is strange. The stepfather, he can kiss every freaking part of my butt. That stepfather in that case, he's a narcissist. Like I would say, like that. Christopher Proudfoot is like a big D. When I say big D, I'm talking about dick. Like he's just an arrogant SOB, so full of himself. Now, Daniel, I would say he's like more of a monotone Christopher Proudfoot, but still very much to me, in my opinion, like just so full of himself. Like I said, these people care more about the perception that they have out here, but it's due to their own words, right? So that's what has contributed to this. And I've told Daniel this multiple times. And it's almost like when I said it to him, it's almost like he would clam up and stuff like that. And right, exactly, Sebastian, right? So did Sebastian get on that freaking same magic carpet ride or that same UFO and just disappeared? The mother went on just to, let's just go to some garage sales around the neighborhood. The weirdness again, okay? But the thing is, with all the camera footage that they have in Sebastian's case, look at that, you guys, okay? February 25th was the last time that Sebastian Rogers was known to be alive. Guess where we are at? A year and a half later. And guess what? Now, could something happen? Who knows? It's so, to me, derivative of Sebastian's case because same thing, right? If there's something that will bring the search team back out, some sort of, you know, um, something's found in the woods or they want to research, okay, there has to be a good cause. Same thing with Sebastian Rogers. They did the exact same stuff. They went for a week of searching, then they scaled it back because obviously, and it's still deemed as missing, right? With same thing as this, exactly the same thing. And they scale it back, and then the search team, then they regathered, brought in searchers again to re-go over the area and stuff like that. And again, a year and a half later, Sebastian Rogers, honestly, the whole gist was that Sebastian Rogers up and left out the front door, missed every camera along the way, you know, into the darkness he went and never to be found again. So same thing, right? Personality types, hi woman's warrior, personality types like that can pass polygraphs because they don't do emotions right. Well, I mean, look at Malaya doesn't seem to have any emotions, apparently, is what it seems like, right? Like, honestly, she kept just saying, like, I want my kids to be, I just want my kids home. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, no, sorry, Malaya. Not buying it. Not buying it. Your actions have not shown that. I wouldn't want to be you, and I wouldn't want to have done anything that you're doing by not coming out fighting for your kids. You're right. So we don't understand how you're feeling, but trust me. Again, parents that actually really, truly care about their kids and love their kids, doesn't matter if they're alive or dead, you would want to be vocally putting that out there and asking for help because that would be the natural, normal thing to do for people that truly, truly want their kids to come home. Maybe they were just a big inconvenience for you, right? Chances are Malaya was definitely probably in depression, right? She's living with a controlling personality. According to her, it was her chance to get out, right? And she took it. But what she did after that, again, to me, I don't care. Helping RCMP, not helping RCMP, whatever the hell she's doing. What about the other family members as well? There's a lot of other family members. Why aren't they speaking up, speaking loudly, bringing to the forefront? Of course, it should be Daniel and Malaya, but Daniel, he's ruined to me his reputation of believability, right? And it's because of his own words have done that to him. So it's not like I set out not to believe Daniel. It's the fact that Daniel did it to himself and he confused everybody with the different, again, different accounts of events. Some of the events have 3 different versions. A lot of events have 3 different versions. And then Janie comes out and then she just adds more to the confusion of the timeline. And it's not consistent with the 8 o'clock time that they said that Lily had come into the bedroom. And then it goes from Malaya seeing them once and then it becomes, but Malaya never said that to anything that she ever put out there. Right. And even when I asked her, like in those messages, I said, can you confirm that you heard Jack and Lily on there? It's not like she interjected and said, yes, not only did I hear Lily or the children, but I seen Lily as well that morning. She never said nothing like that again. Right. And again, it just goes on and on and on with these inconsistencies. So again, Daniel, I think, like, to me personally, it's because he's such a narcissist and a controller. He's trying to control the narrative here as well. But the thing is like a sinking ship like the Titanic, he lost it. He lost any credibility for believability. Now, it still doesn't mean that he's guilty. It just means he lost any sort of credibility because why would you need to do that and lie and be inconsistent into missing children, the case of 2 missing children that are underneath your care. So then when you think, why would you need to lie? You obviously think that it will be a cover up because there's no reason to lie. I'm going to remove this one from the thing, stop screen. And then I want to grab another one. So when I got these, I think this was 2. Let me see. Is this number 2? No, that's 3. Hold on. Let's find number 2. They came in like a little bit out of order. Is that number 2? That's the first one. Wait, please. Okay, we don't need that one. Sorry, guys. Just trying to find number 2. Well, let me just grab this one. What page are you? Why does it keep grabbing the same one? That was the first. Okay, maybe it's this one. Is that number 2? Yeah, number 2. Number 2. Okay. Share screen. I think this one's number 2. Yeah. Oh, they got a big 2 out of 5 over some of those words. Was it Daniel or Malaya who saw the kids that morning? Okay, Drippy. So just to try to unconfuse you. So Daniel said it was him. Okay. Malaya never said it was her. But Daniel then said way later in the game that Malaya saw the baby too, right? So I don't know what kind of crap is going on here because apparently, according to Lana, who told Belinda that when Lana was talking to Malaya, she said she had seen Lily once, right? So again, more confusion because not once did she say anything about seeing Lily, only Daniel did. And then Daniel just recently said that Malaya saw her too that morning. All the other time, he was just talking about himself seeing Lily. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, he all of a sudden says that Malaya saw them too. So again, I feel like is there a piece of you guys, 1 for yes, 2 for no? Is there a piece of you guys that feel like Daniel and Malaya talk to each other and that they're playing us for effing fools and they literally are still talking with each other? And because like how would Daniel know what Malaya's polygraph test questions were? How would he know what Cindy's and Wade's polygraph questions were? Unless it came out of Darren. So I'm just curious. So 1 for yes if you feel like they're playing us, and 2 for no. In 2 seconds again. I'm still here though. I'm gonna take a big swig of my juice. Well, I try to look at everything as well. Just having a puff of my vape while I was there too. Freaking, what is it? Lemonade, 0 sugar. Yay, diabetic. I couldn't help it. This is my ego kicking in now. Thank you. Honestly, I really truthfully don't care what other channels say about this channel or not, but I appreciate that comment because I know that where my heart is, and my heart will always be the purest of the pure when it comes to what I do and the reasons I do things. It's never for the sake of, ego. It's never for the sake of anything other than deeply caring. And that's the bottom line. And if other channels or whatever want to take away from that or whatever, that's fine. It's fine. It doesn't bother me in the least, to be honest, because my mission is not to make them happy or to care if they like me or not. Honestly, I do this for the passion of cases that I come across. And honestly, I uh, thoroughly don't really enjoy being in true crime for that exact reason. But by the same token, I enjoy being in true crime for the sake of covering a case because it just grabs your heart to the core. And this case has absolutely. Sebastian Rogers has, Nicola Bully has, you know, uh, Jay's case, and the Delphi case. It's because they just seem they're cases that don't make sense. If I look at each of the cases I follow, they're the cases that have mystery and intrigue behind them, and cases like this really upset me because at first you're thinking that these children are going to be found within um you know they just went into the woods. Yep, no problem, right? Their little 20-minute time frame, even though their 20-minute time frame to me is still a crock of crap. Absolutely. So if these kids disappeared in 20 minutes time, right, the only thing that you could think, if that was the case in 20 minutes time, if we were to even allude to that, would be um a stranger abduction. Not a family abduction, a stranger abduction, right? So it's like I said, when you look at this case and every little aspect of it, and like I said, do I know more things than you guys do? Yes, I do. So I have that stuff in my head to go through as well, right? And you guys, and I'm no further in the case than you are. I might have some more information, but I'm no further in the case for understanding what happened to Jack and Lily, because at the end of the day, right? Like, they're definitely not masterminds. Like that's clear that Daniel, Janie, Malaya are not masterminds. But does that mean that people, even if they're not masterminds, in a place that's remote like that, could still do something? Yes, you got 19 hours. People have cleaned up freaking more than that in less time than that. Like, you guys, there's just thousands of cases that are going on all the time where sometimes there's just no rhyme nor reason because the evidence isn't showing. So, if Daniel took his burner phone, for instance, well, of course his other phone's not going to have it. You know, I mean, in the Delphi case, the only phone that was missing from Richard Allen was 2017 phone. Every other phone, the stupid man kept for all of his other phones. But the one that was missing was the one where the murders happened for Abby and Libby. That one just miraculously disappeared. So I think Daniel is boony smart. He might not be the brightest bulb on that Christmas tree, type of thing. And that's not like none like we all excel at certain things, right? Daniel excels, I'm sure being, a hard worker, perhaps working, he was working full time, working at the sawmill and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know how hard of a worker he was. Obviously, if you've gone down to one day, you're not working too hard, but that's nothing to do with still somebody's integrity of working and stuff like that, But sometimes things, regardless, can happen, right? Even if your lifestyle, did involve, well, no, I mean, come on. I mean, I hate to say this because, no, I don't hate to say this, but I mean, he did drugs. It's that simple. Daniel Martell, Malaya is not going to sit there and lie about that. I mean, Darren made a comment to it. It was in the article. Um, and there's other, it's been said enough times that be true. That means that Malaya was living with someone, obviously. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing this right now. Maybe people watching this show right now, where that they use drugs and stuff like that, meth or other things and stuff like that. They have children, but obviously you don't want children in an environment, you know. It's kind of like when somebody's drinking beer, and when they're not drinking beer, they can be a really good person, but stick beer in them and they're a complete a-hole, and they turn into a whole different person and stuff like that. So we don't really know. I think we kind of can guess, but we don't really know exactly what was going on in that household. But bottom line is that the school talked about them not having appropriate clothes. We know about black eyes, right? And we know that, say, Daniel I'll say was, because I'm sure, I mean, maybe, but if someone's fighting for their child, they know that they got to clean up their shit, regardless, right? If they're fighting for custody and stuff like that. But I just think it saddens me because when you have children, it's your duty to take care of them responsibly and properly, and stuff like that. And we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect parents and stuff like that. But I mean, Jack and Lily lived in a shithole. Okay. It was a shithole. And the reason it's a shithole is because the outside and the inside look just as bad. Even Wade talked about it. Like, hey, Malaya, how about you do some dishes during some of your time, And even Belinda said, like, there was dishes. And you guys have seen pictures, right? It's not like these children were living in this clean fest of a house that you had to use a wrench to try to lock the front door from bears and stuff like that. Uh, Confirmed. So again, it's like anyone. I got tons of information, and yet, what's actually probably causing the most of why this is hard is because of Malaya, to be honest with you. Um, because of the fact of Malaya's doing things opposite of what a mother you would think would be doing in the case of two missing children, and lacks emotion, it seems like, from what her closest you know family member, like Wade says, and Belinda and stuff like that. I think that's where the confusion lies with me, because on one hand you have somebody that doesn't seem to give two shits about these children, her own children. And that's the perception that she has been given. Okay. I don't make no excuses for any mother that is not out there front and foremost, right? These are your children. They're not our children. These are your children. You are the one that should be first and foremost speaking on behalf of your children and being a voice for your children. There's no excuse to me why that's not happening. But because it's not happening, do I keep looking at the fact, was it possible that, that the children were hidden and stuff like that? Obviously, right? If somebody's living a life as if they don't give a shit, in a sense, then it makes you ponder, like, why? Like, there's a reason why. What's that reason why? Is it because Malaya knows something more than what she's saying? Probably, for sure. But why is she acting like this? And then you have Daniel, who can't seem to spit out the truth if his life depended on it properly, or tell a story consistent properly. That's caused that confusion. So between the two of them, you can't really decipher. Is it Daniel? Was it both? Was it Malaya? And Rosie, did I not? If I didn't, thank you for the $1.49 super sticker. You know, um, and then because the two of them are acting so strange, your children should, yeah, absolutely be number one. But because the two of them are acting so ridiculously strange, like the whole situation is strange, right? So when you have two people that are apart, And yet they're both acting strange. And then you start wondering, like, everything. Okay, are they still talking? Was is just this is this a game? You know, is it not a game? But why is Malaya acting the way she is? Right? Like, I don't want to hear her stupid excuses, because that's all that they would be to me. It's just stupid excuses about why you're not being a voice for your children. Right? There's no rhyme nor reason for a mother that apparently wants her children back so bad, that sits there and goes, you know what? I think I'll just put up a poster today. You know, that's how I'll contribute to my own children. Yeah, we'll go up and put a couple posters. Act like I gave a shit, type of idea. Um, and then you got Cheryl, who seems to be like her bodyguard. That is like, like you have to go through Cheryl in order to get to Malaya, which is ridiculous, right? And it's just like, why Malaya? Why do you need someone to navigate all your stuff for you, in order to get to you, which is just absurd. So it's the weirdness between the two of them. And because of Malaya, and she's probably wiser for it in certain ways, not speaking up, we mostly just have to go by whatever comes out of Daniel's mouth, but not we're believing it. But it's like a one-sided thing for the most part. But I think people don't act like this when children go missing. That's the bottom line. This isn't how people act. And so it's like, for me, the sonar is on both of them. Anyway, okay, sorry guys, I'm getting sidetracked. My bad. Malaya's lawyer had no. You know what? I know better than that. Now personally, on there. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Not buying that stuff anymore, to be honest with you. So let's see here. I know there's some words cut out here, but Northeast Major Crime Unit continues to lead a very active. Is that big enough for you guys? Make it a little bit bigger. Intensive, whatever, with the assistance from agencies across Canada, said RCMP, spokesperson Cindy somebody. In an email in response to questions on Friday, she said police have not ruled out any blank, confirmed the circumstances of the children's ruled out any possibilities, obviously, which continues to be investigated under the Missing Persons Act. She reiterated, there is no evidence that the children were abducted, but every possibility is being considered. Well, there's no evidence of shit that we know of, to be honest. I mean, again, difference of opinion versus actual stuff, right? But every possibility is being considered. I mean, a lot of these words are just their typical bullshit words, like the shit that they always put out. Investigators have and continue to receive forensic results. And this is July 16th, right? Meaning that doesn't mean this document was July 16th. It just means that was part of one of the documents up until July 16th. So we don't know if this was a week later that this particular part was given. But anyways, investigators have continued to receive forensic results which assessing, wrote Mrs. Bayer. She declined to disclose specific results due to the continuing investigation. I'm completely open and transparent with everything on the case. They know my life inside. This is Daniel now. They know my life inside and out. I was happy. No, we don't know your life inside and out. We don't. You weren't honest about your meth shit going on. So no, we don't know everything about your entire life. We don't know we don't know your true self, Daniel, because you have a mask of a facade of a narcissist. We don't know. We know what you're trying to tell us or tell the police, right? They know my life inside and out, and I was happy to share it with them. Happy. I was just happy to share it with them, you guys. Everyone likes to use that word. I was only too happy to share it with the RCMP as they're looking for the two beautiful children that disappeared underneath our care. And I was just happy to share it with them. Martell said this week in a reaction to the release of the court records. It's important for me because Jack and Lily were my stepkids, and there's two innocent children that are missing, absolutely. And because of you and Malaya, these children are missing because of you. Okay? Remember that. Remember that. Because of you, Daniel and Malaya, these kids are missing. Yeah? So I bet it would be important. You'd think it would be important, right? Because it's your fault. You understand? It's your fault that these two children are missing. It's not anybody else's. It's yours and Malaya's fault because you obviously can't take care of these children properly. Okay? If the children are being taken care of properly, right? This wouldn't have happened on such a private property. We're not talking like you're in a freaking Walmart. We're talking about on a big private property that literally has nobody driving by it virtually. And somehow they just disappeared underneath your care because you were not really sleeping, remember? Bullshit. Now, I just hope and pray, and I want to say this again, is that I truly hope. Nah, it probably didn't happen, to be honest with you. But I would like to truly hope that, you see, a lot of the stuff that we are talking about has already been said to the RCMP, right? So it's not like, we got any more special details in certain ways, for sure, right? When something like sometimes people will be like, did you turn it into the RCMP? Really? Do I really need to? Or do you think that the RCMP already know that Daniel had burner phones, right? But if somebody hid those burner phones or got rid of them, even if they were told that they had them and they got rid of them, well, what are you going to do? If something on those burner phones had any sort of evidence of anything. One was for the cell phone records of both Malaya Brooks Murray, the children's mother, and Daniel, their stepfather. In the early weeks of the investigation, RCMP sought access to all electronic devices and data in the early weeks of the investigation. Brooks Murray and then her then boyfriend, Daniel Martell, during the period between May 1st at 2:25 p.m. and May 2nd at 10:27 a.m. to when the police arrived. The location data was from various sources, including global positioning systems, cell phone, tower locations, and file metadata. Can tell investigators the historical location of the device, said RCMP member Charlene Curl in her written request to the court. Logs such as calls and great, that's all great. That's great, right? That's all great on your regular phones. What about the burner phones? What about the burner phone that you would have taken with you, right? What about that information? I'm sure that information would be telling. But what are they going to do? I mean, again, right? I just remember about the Delphi case, right? When it comes to phones and the triangulation and gathering things, that in the Delphi case, they couldn't gather everyone's phone because you needed like warrants to that, right? And you had to have probable cause about why you wanted that information. So like in the Delphi case, where you're talking about Booney Land as well, they were not able to access all of the records because again, right, you have to have a warrant to the company like say Bell or whatever like that, right? And you have to have again good cause why you're asking it. Now we're talking about two girls that were murdered in Delphi, right? So that this is considered two missing people. And Delphi was two murdered, and they couldn't gain access to all the records, right? Because people still have rights regardless, right? Regardless, people still have their rights, but they couldn't gather all of the cell phone data and stuff like that. Um, or perhaps maybe they would have had a better clue about who did it instead of 7 years later on there. So I don't know about that stuff like fully, but I'm thinking about the Delphi case and when that part came out about the cell phones. And I was in my head, I was just like, oh, really? I was like, oh, I would have thought that all they needed to do, you got two murdered kids here, like hand over all the freaking phone data. But it wasn't that way. Officers also access their bank records using their transaction histories to cross-reference timelines previously provided by the police, by Martell and Brooks Murray and stuff like that. See, I still feel when it comes to this that if okay, so if there's family involvement, to me this wasn't a planned thing. This was more of possibly an anger moment thing. Not that it was like, you know what, on Monday we're gonna scale this stuff to get rid of the kids. Tuesday, stuff like that. No, to me this would have been something about that happened in that moment, not that it was a planned thing. So to me, I like if I think about it that way, right? Then there's not going to be like you're running off to the store to do this and buying this and stuff like that. No, this would have been an in the moment situation to me personally. If it was something to do with family involvement and that it happened that day before in the evening or that morning to Jack and Lily, if I'm looking at it from that angle. But it's not like you're running out to the store. Do. Hey, can I get some duct tape? You know, oh yeah, hey, can I get, a blanket for all the, for the bodies and stuff like, stuff like that. This would have been shit that would have been on the property. Um, so a second was for the school bus video surveillance around the children's home. Other applications were to request copies and records under the control of companies, the names of which were redacted, right? The documents say the information is requested because the last time Jack and Lily, right, was May 1st at 2:25 p.m. Um, at the local Dollarama video surveillance. Hey, Daniel, just so you know, Daniel, I know I know as well why you were in Westville as well. Just saying, Daniel. Okay? Just saying, Daniel. This could assist the investigation by helping police to identify. Okay, yeah. So when I say that, you guys, it's because a lot of people think that it was Darren's son that is the person um, that was that for some reason Daniel wanted to mention that it could be corroborated by a person. Yeah, exactly, Daniel. Know exactly who that person is. Know exactly who that person is, Daniel. Actually, it wasn't even rocket science, to be honest with you. But anyways, just saying, Daniel, just saying. Um, so there's another reason that they were in Westville, okay? Um, yeah. And I'm pretty sure he would have a burner phone as well. So she also laid out information gathered by more than 20 police officers up until mid-May. Both Malaya and Daniel's polygraph examinations results on May 12th. Oh, wait, did I read? Yeah. On May 12th showed that they were truthful when answering um, when answering 4 questions, right? What did I say? What did I say earlier? What did AI say about that? Okay. Do. I'm going to read this again for people that might not have heard me earlier. Limited questions. A test with only 4 questions is very narrow. It's possible the questions were phrased in a way that allowed the parents to be truthful about the specific wording, right? About the specific wording, while still hiding the broader truth. For example, they might truthfully answer, and this is by Google AI that came up with this question, to know that they answered no, did you kill your children? While still being responsible for their disappearance, right? So that right there in itself is exactly what we're talking about. Is that you can sit there and be asked 4 questions and be told, nope, but that you know the broader truth, but you're answering specifically. And again, if you're a psychopath, sociopath, if you're a narcissist, if you're just a full-on liar and stuff like that, lots of different reasons why you can pass a polygraph, right? Now, Daniel did say that they asked that there was another round of polygraphs, and he said, and it's from his own words. Let me just see if I can quickly pull that up for a sec. I'm not going to pull it up to show you just because, or maybe I should. Maybe. Let's see. Was there anything else on here? Malaya will agree. Okay, let me just finish reading this and then I'll pull that back up. Malaya willingly agreed to undergo a polygraph. Well, you'd look kind of stupid if you didn't agree, to be honest with you. Examination in relation to the investigation. In an effort to eliminate her as a suspect causing her children's disappearance and possible murder. As a suspect causing, said the documents, referring to statements made by Christoph, blah, 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 blah. Martell has told CBC he asked RCMP to do a polygraph test. He said all of the questions were focused on whether he killed Lily and Jack. Right. 4 questions on there. So 1 second here. Stop screen. Actually, give me a second too. Be right back. I'm just going to pull it up. Okay. So right here, let's just go. Let's just read a little bit of this again. I tell them everything, Kent. I mean, I tell them everything, Kent. Well, I'm not even sure why he said that because he was typing to me. Anyways, oh, right. Okay. This wording here, you guys, not narcissistic at all. I have them watching your show. Jim Walker, Alana King. I give them any locations the kids could possibly be. I gave them DNA. I was the one that insisted the blanket was important to the case. So the blanket that he lied about, he then turns around and says it's important to the case. Major Crimes kept telling me it wasn't. Can you imagine Major Crimes Unit saying that blanket of lilies that's hanging in a tree wasn't important? I mean, it could be true, but we don't know what to believe. But he says, but now look, the blanket is being sent for forensics. I can't share information on the forensic, but I was given info. As if. I also have information on cadaver dogs, but I was told not to share. Sonny, the RCMP statements put out, I know a few days in advance. Here it is. I was supposed to take a second round of polygraph exams, but when they said that they were no longer necessary, I asked why, but they declined to answer and skirted past the question. Let's read that again. That I was supposed to take a second round of polygraph exams, but when I was asked, when they said they were no longer necessary, I asked why, but they declined to answer and skirted past the question. Whoops. Why do you think? These are Daniel's words, of course. What's happened to Shannon's brother? Working as a criminal psychiatrist, I have met plenty of Daniels, Janies, and Malayas. Hey, Shannon. Yeah. Right. So, there we go. Yeah. I know a lot of people have stories behind, you know, cases and stuff like that. But anyways, okay. So Belinda, what are you doing up? What the heck? What the heck, Belinda? Supposed to? Aren't you on vacay? A couple days vacay? Probably lying in bed right now. But let's see, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, Belinda. Do you know when your bedtime is? Mm-mm. Okay. So my thing about this is that, so the way Daniel words this is, you know what? We were going to take polygraph tests. Oh, you're on the boat right now. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. The day Daniel words this is that basically, hey, they were going to do a second round of polygraph tests, but you know what? They're not necessary anymore. Why wouldn't they be necessary? Why wouldn't they be necessary first and foremost? And secondly, Daniel says that, you know, they basically skirted past the question when he asked. So what do you guys think about that? Like just his own words there. Okay. I was supposed to take a second round of polygraph exams, but when they said that they were no longer necessary, I asked why, but they declined to answer and skirted past the question. Hmm. Hmm. Why do you think it would be no longer necessary? Is it because Daniel is innocent of everything? Or is it because there's more than meets the eye, Daniel? Using your own words there. Right? But they skirted past the question, you said. Right? Now, do not forget this. Is that when people do have involvement, right? And this is for a lot of cases, they like to be involved. They want to know what they know, right? They want to know every detail that the RCMP has, as much information as they can get. A lot of people that are involved in something do that, right? They insert themselves. They want to know everything, right? Now, Daniel's going to say, you know, according to Daniel, it's going to be about, well, his love and care for Jack and Lily, of course, right? But also people insert themselves and they want to know everything. They want to know every detail because they know if, like, let's just say Daniel knows exactly what happened to Jack and Lily. And let's say Daniel was actually part of it, hypothetically. Of course he's going to want to know. Of course he's going to believe that RCMP are his best friends and giving him updates. Of course. Well, certain people, Marie, was that Daniel and Malaya got like 4 questions. Cody's just simply said Cody passed. Same with Wade and Cindy, right? Um, Daniel's and Malaya specifically say that there was 4. Daniel said that the police canceled. Now, I want to ask another question about this because when Daniel was doing that one interview, he specifically said that they would need to fly somebody in because there's no polygraphers, I guess, around. So when I saw that it said 2 police officers gave, one did Malaya, one did Daniel. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Wait, 2 police officers? What about the specialist that had to be flown in? So I was confused by that, to be honest. And did anybody else kind of go, when it said 2 police officers? Not to say that a police officer isn't a person that is trained in being taking polygraphs, but I mean, the whole thing was that they were going to have to fly this person in, right? So what about that person that they were flying in? Did they take a cheaper way out and was like, hey, can you do polygraph tests? Yeah. Okay, well, you do her and I'll do him. Okay. Again, so I was confused about that myself, Drippy, because of what Daniel had said in the interview and that somebody had to be flown in. Um, Okay. Um, One sec here. Anyways, isn't that quite the speech? That literally took that man over an hour to write that whole freaking thing. I mean, that's dedication, you know? I mean, honestly, that's like a lot of typing. Too bad there wasn't more timeline stuff in it though, and stuff like that. I mean, that's a lot of typing. Not gonna lie. You know, like I said, Daniel might seem like the most guiltiest innocent person there. He might very well be. It's just that he hasn't shown it by his actions or his words, right? So he lost credibility. And there's nothing. So until they come out and say that Daniel had no part of the disappearance of Jack and Lily because he lost any sort of credibility, it's really hard to rebuild that once you've lost the respect and the credibility of people. Because, like I said, it's like someone that cried wolf, and after a while, you just don't care anymore because whatever they say, you just question any, you don't even believe any of it. No. hmm Um, okay. This is 3 of 5. Here, I'll do it this way, I guess. Make it 1 second. Media assets. 1 second. Okay. Wait, am I missing a little bit? Is this 3? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So whatever says something comment is included in the document stating I do not have reasonable um something obviously evidence whatever a criminal offense has occurred. Because Lily and Jack are still missing, polygraph examinations were conducted with the intention of ruling out that possibility. The documents also show that Janie McKenzie, Martell's mother, did a polygraph test on June 10th, but her physiology was not suitable for analysis and no opinion was rendered, which really sucks. It does really suck considering she's claiming to be the last one to have seen them. On June 12th, Cody Sullivan, the children's biological father, also did a polygraph and was determined to be truthful. Now, I want to ask you guys something quickly in chat. Um, if Janie, if Janie would have taken a polygraph and like been able to, and she passed it, do you guys think that maybe if Janie would have passed hers, that Janie was being truthful? Like, because if Janie is saying that she was the last one to hear those, well, I guess, but then again, I mean, like, let's say I thought I heard the children, and you asked me that question. Well, in my mind, I believe I heard the kids, so obviously, I'm probably going to pass that answer, right? But is there anyone that thinks that if Janie passed, that could have made a difference in your opinion? Just one for yes and two for no. Right. The blanket was ripped when Daniel placed it in the door. Start of winter. Right. It had a whole season to make its way down there, plows, etc. Right. It was basically for draft. Right. But he ripped off a piece. Um, hmm. Did they say when that blanket was put up on that window? Yeah. Okay. Belinda's. Yeah. She's. That's where my ex-husband is from, Newfoundland. My ex-husband Steve, not my current husband Steve. No talk. Two. No polygraph test makes a difference. No polygraph test makes a difference. Um, I mean, it is hard to overlook. It's hard to overlook polygraph tests as well, right? Like, I mean, based on the fact that there is nothing to show. So I get the fact that during the time of these documents is that there was nothing to show that Malaya Daniel had anything to do, nothing that they had found had anything to do. And on top of that, pass the polygraph, right? No, it's only 4 questions. So typically in a situation like that, you're like, okay, like, well, there's nothing to show and da da da, must be something else. So I do get that part. But because of the fact of what Daniel said, see, like when DT talks, and I'm not speaking for him, but as I hear it, it's like I just feel like when he's talking and talking about certain things, it's like someone making up situations for everything. Situations about the blanket, situation about the lies, the inconsistencies, the timing. And it's almost like someone that just making excuses for the behavior of what Daniel is exuding. Like I said, I give grace where grace is due, but we're talking about a shitload of grace here, between all of them, the timeline, that how you weren't, the time of 8 o'clock. That's when it started, 8 o'clock, right? I mean, obviously the day before is when the official time would be, but May 1st, but yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't see how so many people can be so far off base. I mean, it might come to fruition, but it's when you smell shit, it just stinks. If it doesn't sound right to the ear, it's because it doesn't. Anyway, that bigger again. Okay, um, so Cody passed. Cindy Brooks Murray, the children's maternal grandmother and boyfriend. Wade Paris, so I got had a yawn there. Both passed polygraph tests, right? Some details of the 6 polygraph tests, including questions asked in officers' notes, are redacted in the documents. An investigator's comment says, at this point in the investigation, and we don't know what the stamp date was. Well, I mean, obviously, June 12th, June 10th. At the point of this investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offense occurred. Because Jack and Lily are still missing, polygraph examinations were conducted with the intent of ruling out that possibility. So, Cody Sullivan, among the numerous court orders sought by the police, was one of the Cobequid pass, a told. Oh, yeah, that was funny listening to Daniel say, what did he say? New Brunswick? New Braun? But we all do that when we don't know, just like even saying this. Someone said it was Cobb. I think it was Cobequid Pass, a tolled section of the highway in Nova Scotia. I can't believe you guys have a tolled pass still. Specifically, the RCMP were looking for video records, including closed circuit footage of all cameras and drivers leaving Nova Scotia between May 1st of 2025, that time, and 3 a.m. on May 3rd. Okay. Sorry, I'm starting to yawn now. It's been a long day. Lack of sleep, too. Brooks Murray did, however, call RCMP at 12:45 a.m. Now, you guys remember, Daniel says that Malaya never even told him about this. That even in the morning, like, she never said that she called the RCMP on Cody. Or at least say that maybe he had. I don't understand, but she probably was pointing fingers perhaps everywhere and everywhere to report that the children's biological father might have picked them up and taken them to New Brunswick. She stated that she did not have any proof and she just wanted to make sure every possibility is looked into. RCMP showed up at Sullivan's house at 2:50 a.m. According to the request, Cobequid passed Toll Plaza vids. Police later met with Sullivan on May 22nd. I'm not really going to bother with that because, I mean, honestly, he's cleared. So that has no bearing. Police examining blanket and other items found during the search for missing. Sorry, guys. You know when you yawn once and it just keeps coming? Nova Scotia children. The 7th court document shows that the police seized the children's toothbrushes from their home and the blanket from a trash bag at the end of their driveway that matched the piece of Lily's blanket that was seized by police 1 kilometer from the home in a tree. Police have said Lily's blanket has been sent for forensic testing. Clumps of boot prints in 2 different sizes, including a child's, were found on the pipeline in the area in the first few days. Well, again, they don't have anything, the document said. And it wouldn't shock me if perhaps these footprints, because they said that they were identified, but it wouldn't shock me if that lady, Cheryl's sister or whatever that brought her kid, it wouldn't shock me if that was theirs, right? Which police say could be human. But then they did say that it was like approximately size 11, which was similar to Lily's size. Let's see, tire tracks, scat, with which police say could be human or animal, and a sock and a piece of purple fabric. Around 4 p.m., relatives of Brooks Murray came out of the woods saying that they had found a pink blanket down the road from the children's home. The blanket was seized by RCMP and photographs taken. According to the documents, the police dog walked I'm sorry, but I can't help but think about that blanket. Is there a good reason that you guys can think of that Daniel would lie about that blanket? I know he's saying that he thought it was planted, but can you imagine that you would even have the thought to think that Malaya went and planted that blanket? At what time, Daniel, did Malaya go plant that blanket? Right? I just want to know what time in the timeline that you've given. At what point did Malaya leave the property without you seeing her and she went and planted that blanket? That would cause you to say that Malaya's family planted the blanket. At what point do you think that out of people that are around there searching, that somebody would have been like, hey, what are you guys doing in the garbage bin right in front of the road? Taking out a piece of scrap blanket. That's kind of confusing a little bit, isn't it? This blanket. Malaya says that Daniel ripped off a piece of the blanket. Mm-hmm. And then they used the rest for covering the door. So were both pieces of blanket put inside that garbage bag? But yet Malaya said that Daniel ripped off, like basically, probably the blanket had seen better days. You rip off a piece. Well, I know I have it on my iPad about the blanket. Let me see if I can quickly. Let me see if I can find it here. I think, is it this one? Okay. Sunny, you're so awesome. You found it right away. Okay. So, according to the documents, a police dog walked for about a 1 kilometer in the area and didn't pick up the scent. It says another piece of the blanket was seized from a garbage bag in a bin at the end of the family's driveway, Martell tells CBC. It was the same blanket, but had been ripped apart. Brooks Murray told police it was Lily's LOL doll blanket and that she had sometimes dragged around with her, but had decided that she no longer wanted. Martell had been using it to stop a draft around the door, according to her statement. Now, Malaya took the blanket from the door because the weather was getting nicer about a week before. Okay, so about a week before. Okay, but still. So Malaya took the blanket from the door because the weather was, well, see, that just doesn't make sense, okay? I mean, because Janie said Daniel was putting that blanket into the garbage bag, right? So how could both be true? Janie literally said that she saw Daniel putting the blanket in, right? Malaya took the blanket from the door because the weather was getting nicer about a week before and threw it in the garbage. So was Daniel and Malaya both outside when Janie saw Daniel put it in the garbage? You know, Malaya outside, according to Daniel, she's pretty much bedridden, with laziness. Um, the document said there was already a piece missing from it when she did that because Daniel ripped it off when he put it up. Malaya took the blanket from the door because the weather was getting nicer about a week earlier. So this is where I'm kind of going like, hold on. Okay, so wait. Tanakam, I totally disagree with your comment, actually. It does matter about the blanket and who put it in the garbage. The blanket is part of the case. So it does matter. So they're saying that they have that piece of blanket, Tanakam. Um, right, absolutely. I don't know. It's just that I looked up, I seen that comment, and I'm like, are you freaking serious about that comment? Like that's just to me. I'm sorry, but that's just like a ridiculous thing to say. To be honest with you, because of course it's important. Mic drop, boom, yeah. But anyways, um, but my question in my head right now is the fact that they put it up because of the window, and Daniel tore a piece off. So the blanket, the big piece, in a sense, got thrown in the garbage. So that means that the other piece was ripped off and it ended up in the same garbage like over a week later or something. Like, do you get what I'm saying there? Because according to Malaya's words, there was already a piece missing from it when she did that because Daniel ripped it off when he put it up. So I guess that same piece ended up. Well, yeah, I mean, all you have to do is look at their home. Do they really take their trash out that often and the recyclables? Well, what do you think it means? Because it says Malaya took the blanket from the door because the weather was getting nicer about a week before she threw it in the garbage. About a week before. There was already a piece missing from it. That when she did that because Daniel ripped it off when he put it up. So if he ripped a piece off when they put it up, like meaning obviously it's like two different events happening, right? So it's like you got the piece that's in a tree that was already ripped off and supposedly thrown away, supposedly, and then you got the piece. Well, it does matter, Tunicum. It does matter. Yeah, I don't know if you're just not getting it, but I'm not saying the blanket is important. I'm not saying going over about who put. Of course, it matters. Why does it matter? Because Daniel said that the blanket was planted, and that family members um, took that blanket and planted it against him. Right. So I'm not understanding your sense to this one, to that one, to be honest. And actually, to be honest with you, honestly, don't care if that's the way that you feel like it's not important. That's fine, right? I feel it's important, absolutely, because it's about the truth, and also it's about the truth of everything that's being said, you know, with this case. And there's again this blanket. So if it's If one got put up a week ago and the piece got ripped off a week ago, somehow it ends up in the same garbage bag. One, I would think one would be at the bottom, and by the time that Janie saw her son putting it in the garbage, that that piece is now buried to when the other blanket, if it was even put in the same garbage, on there. Either way, I can't understand how a blanket could end up a mile down the road and be put in a tree. I don't see a bear. Don't, right? Because a bear would have gotten in that garbage, and they would have made a massacre of that garbage bag, and they could have easily have said that an animal had gone into the garbage and took out. But no, that's not what was said, right? There was nothing that said that. Yeah. Again, Tuna, you're entitled to your opinion. Your opinion to me, honestly, just like my opinion might mean nothing to you. Your opinion to me means nothing, because everyone has the right to think whatever they want. If you don't feel like it's important, then so be it. That's fine. I feel like it's important myself, and that's why it's my channel, and that's why I'll talk about it. But you can still think it's not important. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? But Daniel is saying that this piece was planted against him, right? That this piece of blanket, he lied, and he said it wasn't Lily's. So my question going back to it was, who, in any case that you follow, does somebody sit there and say, you know what? That blanket that you're showing me a picture of, not Lily's, and it was planted against me. Is that like a normal thing to say and do? Absolutely not. Right? So basically, you're trying to let people know, like, hey, just like those sweaters, if they're found with Jack and Lily, just know that I've already let the RCMP know that I didn't do it. That Malaya's family planted it against me. How else could this blanket get up in a tree? I thought it was absolutely ridiculous when somebody said that. Here, do I have the picture here? I thought it was absolutely ridiculous, myself, when someone said that the picture freaking just flew. That it freaking flew. Okay, a napkin flies in the wind. Maybe one of those washing cloth things that are, those really blue and white ones that are very light. Ain't no blanket flying in the freaking wind a mile down the road is ridiculous. I'm just trying to see if I can. Oh, here it is. 1 second. Okay, let's take a look at this blanket again. Let's take a look at this blanket here. Here it is. Okay. All right, guys. Does that look like the wind carried it and threw it amongst those branches like that? Especially considering it's not exactly a light blanket, and it has very distinctive designs on it, if you guys can see. Yeah, there have to be a freaking tornado going by. You're right, Marissa. It is windy there. Come on, guys. Come on, really? You think this thing flew? That the wind picked this thing up and threw it into the thing? Honestly, you think that the wind opened up the garbage bag as well and took this piece out of there and then put it up there? Caught, placed. Again, do you think that the squirrel opened up the bag of garbage. Yeah, you know what? I could when you look at it here, let me bring it in closer for you guys. Okay? You can tell it's like that, that soft, cuddly type of texture. Absolutely, the squirrel's made a boot print. I mean, it's the fact that he literally said that Malaya's family planted this so that so you have to remember, right? The reason why Malaya that Daniel is saying this is because Malaya took the kids and hid them, right? She passed her polygraph test too. So did Cindy and Wade. So there was no Malaya hiding her kids. Okay? There's no Malaya hiding her kids. You don't think her mother, or somebody would know that this was the plan? Because Daniel said it was Cindy. And then Daniel said it was Malaya's friends. And then Daniel said it was Malaya. And they have this whole concocted story that Malaya hid these children. So again, she passed her polygraph with her 4 questions. Cindy and Wade passed their polygraph, no problem. So his whole basis that he said is that this blanket was there, and he said he didn't know whose it was. It wasn't Lily's. Why wouldn't you say, yeah, that's Lily's? How the hell did it get there? Sounds messed up. It was placed there. Looks placed there. But the point being though is that he literally lied that this was even Lily's, knowing full well it was Lily's. Because again, so you're going to lie about that? Or would you just not say that, yeah, that's Lily's? What the hell is it doing there? Yeah, I think that maybe Malay and her family are trying to somehow, blame me for something. But he lied about it and said that it wasn't. Why wouldn't you just be truthful? So that's why like I said, this is one of the biggest key pieces to me personally amongst this whole stuff. Is that when you look at the reason why he lied, it doesn't make sense, because he could have easily have said the truth, but instead he didn't acknowledge it because he thought that he was in trouble, that he was going to take the blame, instead of just admitting that, hey, I don't know how that blanket got there, beyond me, right? These children aren't hidden, people. These children, in my opinion, they're not hidden. They haven't been trafficked. There's nothing that makes sense to hidden, right? Okay. Do you guys, percentage wise, in chat, percentage wise, what is your percent that Jack and Lily walked off the property and were abducted by a vehicle? What would be your percentage, of course, from 0 to 100? What would be your percentage for that? In 1 second. So I'm curious, just you guys in chat. I do like to know what your guys' thoughts are. Doesn't mean we all always agree on stuff. Absolutely not. because we're all just trying. No, yeah, there wasn't two blankets. Yeah. No. There was no two blankets, okay? No, that's his reasoning. That's bullshit. There's the pink blanket that was in the window. Okay. She didn't have two lolly dolly blankets. Okay. He's the one, and Malaya, that knew exactly what this blanket looked like. So who gives a shit, right, Janzi? Who gives a shit about a second blanket? This blanket is the one that belonged to the blanket that was in the trash, right? So Daniel knew because he put this in the trash, according to his mother. I don't give a shit if Malaya was out there or not, is that he put this in the trash, so he knew, but he lied. So that's the point. There would be no reason to lie, because if you felt like Malaya was doing this to trap you and blame you for Jack and Lily, like, why would you think that? Like why would you kind of think that anyway? Right? So the blanket was found on the first day. So you instantly think on the first day that Malaya is just trying to fucking set you up, right? At 4 o'clock, you're like, you know what? Let me just think about this, right? That, yeah, you know what? I think it's Malaya. Malaya's the one that set this all up. And Daniel being the detective that he is on there. Okay. Is that 3% tuna? 80? Sarah, you think 80%? Ashland Hall thinks 60. 5%. Skullfield 10. 10. 0. You know what? If I would be the same. I would probably give it somewhere between the 0 to 10% area. But probably I'd say 10% if I was, okay. So the dogs couldn't pick up any scent. So for the people that think that the children walked off the property and were taken, so you think that Lily and Jack just walked to the end of the driveway and a vehicle pulled up and said, some stranger said, get in. And that's why there's no scent of the children beyond the end of the driveway. Sonny, maybe the two sweaters were taken for RCMP to test if Daniel wore them. Well, that's what Daniel from DT said, right? Like, don't you think that Malaya would have said, yeah, I took his sweaters. I took two of his two shirts. Like, again, if she took them, she took them. So why wouldn't she just say, yeah, I did? But Malaya said, I don't, Daniel might do things to me, but I don't think he could hurt children. 33. Yeah, I know. It's like kind of like the obvious is the obvious, to me. Um, but obviously there has to be evidence and proof and stuff like that has to, you know. I mean, I think there's a bunch of smart people. Um, it doesn't actually look tangled. I wouldn't call it tangled, in my opinion. The blanket doesn't look tangled. It just looks like, when something is thrown over, like when you throw your towel over your shower. It's kind of like, it just looks like that. It's not tangled as much as it is drooping, right? Yeah, it doesn't seem tangled per se. The mysterious blanket. Well, it's not really mysterious to me. In there. You know, regardless of anything, as I keep saying, is that we don't know what happened to Jack and Lily. We got a ton of information that doesn't make sense. Um, Obviously, it doesn't make sense, or it didn't make sense to the RCMP at, or maybe still doesn't at this point of the children missing 4 months later. And they're clueless as fuck to what happened to Jack and Lily, just like we are. There's definitely sus shit going on for sure. You know, doesn't mean that I can't fake it if I tried. If you're bullshitting about a case and you were in charge of that, looking after Jack and Lily, and you can't keep a straight story on so many different levels, and Malaya's not begging for her kids, in her interview, doesn't even say their name and stuff like that. I'm sorry. And for me personally, this is family involvement of the people that are on that property. That's my opinion still. With the information, there's nothing to make me think that these, according to Janie's own words, I've lived here for 26 years. I know these roads. This was not a random abduction. Right? That's coming out of Janie's mouth. And I agree. I concur that somehow that these children managed to be supervised. Okay, that's just bullshit. Let's just call a spade on that one. These kids went outside and played regardless without supervision. So they go outside, they open up a door, they close a door. Daniel's not in a deep sleep. Doesn't hear the kids playing outside at all. Only Janie does. Right? Because heaven forbid you would hear two kids that don't know how to keep their voices down. And that these two kids, beyond anything that they normally do, decide to walk to the end of the road. Do you think somebody has one of those big ass lollipops at the end of the road going, come here, come here? So it's so unlikely that one car drove by. There's no sense from the dogs. Okay. So let's get real on that. There's no sense picked up by the dogs, right? So there's no sense picked up by the dogs. And at the same time that no scents are being picked up by the dogs, that one vehicle drives by and says, "Oh, yummy," a luscious 6-year-old and 4-year-old on a road that's barely traveled. It just seems absurd, right? It seems absurd to think that all that played out. Now, could it have? Never say never, because we don't know the answers. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. Well, there's a lot of us that know stuff, but I just try to keep everything inside of my head and try to sort out if where this truth could lie with Jack and Lily. And I'm sorry, I'll still stick to my guns on this. If you're gonna be deceptive about a blanket and have inconsistencies and the way that Malaya has reacted and stuff like that, I don't think I have to look too far myself to see that a bunch of bullshit is going on with Jack and Lily's case. Cases rarely turn out this ridiculous. when there's truth being told. So common sense tells me that if you need to lie about stuff and you need to try to feed us your narrative, that means I should look at you harder. If you're trying to deflect somewhere else and you're the one that's smoozing ass to the RCMP and stuff like that, and you're trying to sell yourself, not so much about Jack and Lily, but your agenda, that's how I see this at the moment, you know, because again, looking at some of these the couple other options, selling, no. Okay. I mean, what are they going to do with the money? You know, plant it in the ground for 5 years till someone's not looking at them anymore, right? There's going to be a trail of something, right? Trail could be very much in those burner phones, right? Right, Daniel? Right, meth? Yeah. You know, and the friend that you met in Westville, you know, the one that you said can corroborate for you. Guess where he works? Same place. Works at the same place. Daniel knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Helped you on the search. Well, that's the thing, right? You know, I look at my niece, the meth head, you know, and I think of all the times that she, like how she's been. You'll lie, you'll do whatever, right? I bet you Malaya was probably pissed off. Maybe if there was an argument that day, I bet you she was pissed off, you know, that Daniel was probably buying some drugs in Westville. Hey, Daniel, you know, just by chance, Daniel. Is that true? Just by chance. You know, the one that couldn't cooperate with you, that you were there at the Dollarama. Like I said, you're being truthful, huh? I don't know what it's like to do meth or stuff like that. I don't know what my mindset is or how, if you're angry, did Malay and Daniel get in a fight because of that day? You know, is that kind of what's being left out? Is it not? Right? Both of them are saying, nope, no arguments here. No arguments here. But then when Malaya, you know, wakes up and sees you freaking doing meth and high as a kite all night and stuff like that at 12 o'clock, you think that that's a lie too? Is that a lie too? Right? And that you're up all night? Is that a lie as well? I don't know what it feels like to be that, you know. Was anybody over there as well that night that we don't know of? I mean, Malaya can't even tell you what time the kids went to bed. 7 to 10 o'clock are quite different. You know, I understand. Like, you know, that narrative has given people hope. Um, I can see Janie having a little pint size washer and dryer in her home, not kid size stuff. right? Kids, you got 3 children. You're gonna need a fucking laundromat, more like it. You know what I thought was weird? Is that maybe this is how possessive Malaya is, but it was in the documents there about how Malaya went to go get a driver's license and a vape for Daniel. So you're at grandma's house, Patty, and Daniel's there, but you take Meadow. I just would have thought that, well, if you're going to scoot down and go get his driver's license, you know, and then go to Daniel's vape store, you would think that, hey, sweet, leave Meadow with grandma there, and head off and quickly do that shit. But no, Meadow's attached to her hip, I guess. Just seemed a little odd to me. But maybe that's just because, you know, she wants Meadow with her all the time or something. Hmm. I personally, oh, don't forget, you guys, don't forget, you guys got rocks made, pictures, send them to me at crimingshame@gmail.com. Not going to show it. There's one more, I think one more document to show, but I'm not going to waste my time, to be honest with you. It's just shit we keep reading over and over again. With the information, because it's such a jumbled bunch of garbage. Mm, um, because it's such a jumbled bunch of garbage, due to mostly the fact of Daniel and then Janie and partially Malaya as well. I'll say partially because Daniel's been the one truly trying to feed a timeline of stuff. But we can't verify that with Malaya, right? So it's just whatever he says. And again, like, do you notice that they just never talk about, like, that Daniel? Why does he never talk about 8 o'clock? Why? Why doesn't he talk about 8 o'clock? Why doesn't he talk about the time that they told, right? The police or whatever about 8 o'clock? What do you think that is? It's like they just fluff right by it. Yeah, of course he was sleeping till 9:40. But guess who gave him that time? Guess who gave him that time? Daniel, right? But Malaya said he was sleeping from 6:18 to 9:45. 9:40, my bad. What you mean, Maria? Or Marie? Mm-hmm. One sec. I guess so. I mean, again, Malaya's words were Daniel was sleeping from 6:18 to 9:40, right? How could that be true? I'm not sure, Amy. You'd have to ask her. Well, I think there's a huge difference because they said, okay, they said 8 o'clock to 8:30. They said that. That's what they told them. That's what that's what Malaya told Belinda as well. But the point being there is Daniel's never said, you know what, we got the time wrong. Maybe, maybe. Something happened to those children though. Like I said, it's one thing if it was one thing or a couple things, Sarah, but we're not talking about a couple things. We're at least talking at least 20 to 30 things of inconsistencies and just outright lying about a blanket, right? I mean, if Daniel and Janie found their home again, yeah, keep talking, you know, keep talking to all family members. Keep talking. Keep talking. Tell us what you know. Help find Jack and Lily. You know? It sucks too because the true crime world, people just aren't, most people just aren't there yet. They don't have an understanding of true crime world and the impact that it can truly have. Um, most people, a lot of people aren't even aware of it and stuff and the impact that it can truly have. Yeah, there's the shit parts of it too, but when you're truly looking for two kids, um, that you're gonna take the heat. Call in Daniel. Yeah. You know what? I'll be a monkey's uncle if drunk turkey Daniel can get Janie's ass or Daniel's ass up on the live. You know, because that's a challenge, by the way, Janie and Daniel. Go ahead, take it. Why are they resisting so much? Why are they resisting so much? Jenny got too much anxiety going on. She's not capable of sitting on a live and telling the truth. Yeah. That might help you get over your anxiety a little bit, Janie. Some of this hypertension that's probably built up. But Daniel, he's never taken an opportunity to ever explain, just outright explain it. Again, he's controlling. He's controlling. He thinks he's controlling this whole narrative. Got nothing to hide. You'd have, to me, absolutely. You got no problem. For all the talking that man does, get your ass up on a live, eh? You know? Yeah, you're right, Vancouver. Absolutely. Right. We need to get by Cheryl first in order to talk to Malaya, don't we? Right? You know? Anyways, I'm going to call it a night, guys. I literally, like, legit had only a couple hours sleep last night on there. And I won't be doing a live tomorrow. I'm going to go visit my twin sister. Um, yeah. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. But next week I do work 6 to 2. So happy holiday Monday coming up for the Labor Day weekend. So hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Jack and Lily, again, the rocks, anything that the art, if you've done something that you want part of the video that I'll work on after the fact for Jack and Lily, by all means, send it. If not, don't send anything if you haven't done anything. Or for the people that have, again, thank you for, everyone that just, whether you're here and you're just following the case, I would like to hope that you're just hitting that like button at least. Not because for the channel, to keep Jack and Lily's story out there. That's absolutely the difference that we can make by just those small gestures, you know. Um anyways, almost at 4 months. Let me just put their pictures properly back up before we go. No, yeah, thank you guys for joining. For the people that have stayed, I know you guys have probably been watching quite a few lives today and stuff like that. And you guys, just like me, you're just all searching for answers for Jack and Lily. And you just want the truth. And whatever that truth may be, to whatever happened to Jack and Lily, that's all we want to understand is, okay, are the beautiful children, were they taken? You know, were they taken and their lives taken? Some people are thinking that they're hidden somewhere because they choose to believe that that's the best outcome. I get it. You know, was there family involvement? Was there not family involvement? Don't know. I just know when something smells, that I'm definitely on, high alert to bullshit. And that's what I see in this case. It's just a lot of bullshit. And why? You just look at the children and you just think, like, so much life that these children, I believe that they're gone, by the way. So I'm looking at these children as if chances are that they are gone from this earth. And how more innocent could children possibly be when you just look at their faces and know that something happened to them and that there's someone that's culpable or some people that are culpable? How could you have two beautiful children, in your lives, and then they're just gone? And Malaya is the mother of these children. Daniel, whatever to Daniel, he's not the stepdad. He was her partner. But yes, Malaya said that they called him dad, but these are her children. Why is she not fighting just to bring the awareness out there for her own children? Does she not care? It seems like she doesn't care. Yep. You guys. Okay, guys. So take care. I'm just going to do the... Yeah. Anyways. We can keep talking about it till we're blue in the face and maybe something will open up. Anyways, to all you guys have an amazing night. Most of you guys are going to go to sleep. But other than that, you guys have a great long weekend and stuff like that. And yeah, Jack and Lily, you guys, okay? And good night to Belinda, if you're still awake. Okay, guys, take care. I'm just going to do the regular outro today on that one. Haven't heard it in a while. Okay, take care, guys. Thank you.
A Norfolk night, the world is cold. We stand surrounded, we are not alone. Within my